Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining United Creed Podcast. We got a very special guest today. This is James Velasquez. He is the owner of Your Life's Direction, and he is using his spiritual gift to serve others in his community. So it's a great honor to have him on. He's really touched my life in a special way, and we'll touch on that later. But welcome, James. Thanks for coming on with us today.
Well, thank you, Justin. I really appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. We're thrilled to have you. Like I say, James and I go back a few years, and I came to visit James to help work through some things surrounding my dad and the tragic loss of him. And while I was there, James helped me see that he thought I might need to see a doctor, and it was the last thing that I expected to hear. And I kind of brushed it off, honestly, and I thought it was maybe just because I'd been sick. I had the flu like a few times that year, and I kind of brushed it off, honestly. And then I started to have some pain in my back and my flank area, and I got medical attention, and it turns out I was diagnosed with advanced stage cancer. And I'm forever grateful that I got the attention when I did, the medical treatment, because it's made all the difference in my battle. So James is definitely, I can testify, got a supernatural ability to know things that other people just don't know. And as we talked about on another episode, a lot of people call that the spiritual gift of knowledge, able to possess supernatural knowledge. So I feel like it's just such a great, inspiring story to see how James has used his spiritual gift to serve others. And I just wanted the opportunity to have him on so we could shine some light on that story. But James, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up here in San Antonio and pretty much went to school, had the normal childhood life of, playing with people in your neighborhood, playing football and basketball and sports. So I was fairly active in my youth, playing on teams and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so I got spoiled in the sports and the competition and competitiveness here in San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I know how that is.
It's a lot of fun when things are going right and you're winning and everything. But as a whole, all that changed for me when I had a car accident. Mm-hmm. I had come home for the summer when I was in college during spring break. Mm-hmm. And got into a car accident, and that forever changed my life. And yeah,
I can only imagine. I mean, man. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Can you tell us about how that experience just changed your life? I mean, I've had a similar experience of my own, but I'd love to hear how that was just transformative for you.
Well, basically what happened was I was traveling down probably, I would say, 8-lane roadway down San Pedro and near the San Francisco Steakhouse, and a car happened to pull out. They said that the light wasn't working, right. And so they pulled out in a giant Suburban.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
with the flow of traffic all going, with our lights all being green, mm-hmm. I didn't see the vehicle initially because there was a vehicle in the first lane a little ahead of me. So I didn't see the Suburban. That car stopped and the Suburban came out and I T-boned it. Man. And so what ended up happening was I did break my neck, and I had to go through the trauma of that, of knowing that things are going to be different, having to wear a neck brace. I think they call it a Sami brace or something like that. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's like shoulder pads. And
so that's what they gave you, like right after the accident?
They gave me that after the surgery. They put me in a neck brace initially.
Gotcha.
Until I could have surgery, because they wanted to make sure I was stable.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's your, one of those things that changes your life instantly. You're not even thinking about it. You're coming home and boom.
Right.
And you're completely changed. And the next thing you're thinking about is, let's find out what this is, what happened to me, and why is my neck clicking, and
So you lost consciousness when you had the accident?
initially a little bit.
Yeah.
So for a few minutes, but I was fine, and so I was actually moving around and stuff, so I didn't go in the ambulance. I thought, hey,
That's incredible.
so I'm walking around with this thing, and I didn't know anything until, I got home later, and my neck is like sore, and so
Mm,
I'm thinking, well, it's probably just from, the seatbelt catching and my neck going back and hitting
of course, right?
the
That's to
head
be
the
expected, right?
headrest. So didn't really think much about it. But weeks went by, and my neck still felt kind of sore. And so I was doing some ridiculous things to try to fix it by, I would lay in my bed sideways and put my feet wedged against the wall. It was trying to make my neck kind of
Oh
pop
my
because I'm thinking
gosh.
maybe if I pop it or something,
And you had no idea that
I
it was just broken?
I had no idea it was broken.
Holy
And so here
smokes,
I'm
man.
doing stuff that basically, with a broken neck, um, trying to pop it back, going, maybe if I do this, I'll get some relief from it and it'll be okay. And so the first clue that something was wrong with it was when I showed up at the military hospital because my family was military, so I went to the military hospital,
Uh-huh.
and the gentleman, the doctor at the time, didn't. He gave me medication to take to make the swelling go down.
Okay.
Okay, but he didn't take X-rays.
Oh my gosh.
So the
Oh my
so
gosh.
a couple more weeks go by, and I was like going, I couldn't swallow the pills basically because they were so big. So I didn't even take them. I'm like, he gave me these things, I can't swallow them because I just can't. I'm afraid of choking on them.
Right?
And so they're like horse pills. So anyway, I never took them. And so a few weeks later, I decided to go to the emergency room. I said, maybe I'll go to the emergency room and have them take a look at it because my neck was still sore.
Right.
And I'm still hearing clicking in my neck.
Mm,
And the
that
clicking
is.
was from my neck sliding. It was hitting the spinal cord. So
Okay.
it just basically was completely unstable. At any time that could have severed it,
Gosh.
I could have
What
been.
was the pain level like?
Oh, that's the crazy thing about it. It felt like very uncomfortable, but it wasn't like crazy, crazy pain where you're going to black out. It
Right.
just
Huh.
was uncomfortable soreness, is what it felt like.
Really?
So that's why I was like, must not be,
That's
something too
incredible.
serious.
Right.
So I end up going in, and they end up taking X-rays there,
Uh-huh.
and then they let me go. I go home because they look at the X-rays. They're not really seeing anything
Oh wow.
on the X-rays. So, and he goes, if you still feel sore or something, call back and stuff. I'm gonna show these X-rays to a neurosurgeon. And so he did it over the weekend, and then I get a call back, and they're like, "Well, we like you to come back in, and we're not happy with your neck popping because
Mm-hmm.
he's hearing it,
Oh my
and so
gosh.
we're going to do a fluoroscopy on it and just look at it, which is basically like a running video of your neck
Right.
extension up and
Okay.
down, saying yes and no, and then it would slide, and so
Okay.
it captured it on the fluoroscopy, and so they knew immediately that that was not good, and
Right.
he told me, he's like, had you come in, in the ambulance, they would have been doing surgery immediately on you.
Oh my
So talk
gosh.
about a walking time bomb. You could sneeze,
Right.
someone could pat you on the back,
Oh my
and that would be it for
goodness. I
you.
can only imagine.
So anyway, so that was my little scare with it, up
Right.
to the point where being told you need to do surgery.
Right. So you had the surgery, I guess. So
Yeah.
at that
So
point, they decided, oh my gosh, man, like you're a ticking time bomb. Like
so so
we
the
got to get you
so
in.
the strange thing about it is the neurosurgeon said, I'd like to hold on to this because we're going to have a big convention of neurosurgeons coming in, and I'd like to show them
Oh wow.
this and present it. So he presented the fluoroscopy to all of them, and they were like unanimously going, how is this guy not having some kind of trauma? How is he not having paralysis, or having difficulty. How's he
Man,
functioning? So it's
you were
just
being
like
protected
on
by a
a
greater
very, very
power
thin
for
air.
sure.
But when it happens to you, you're in shock.
Yeah.
You're just like in disbelief, going, how could this happen to me? How am I in this situation?
Mm,
And
absolutely.
um, the idea of needing to do surgery, well, that's for other people.
Just that alone has got to be like life changing, right? Whenever
Yeah,
someone drops that kind of news on you, like, oh, you could have easily just died, like that,
yeah,
just from simply sneezing or something like that. I mean,
yeah.
that kind of makes you reevaluate things in itself. But your experience kind of continued, right? You had surgery eventually.
I had surgery, and in the surgery was where I had out of body experiences where I would appear over my feet, and I could hear the doctor's conversations of what they're saying in
Right.
surgery, and I could also, interesting enough, be able to see. Imagine being on a table where you're basically uh, in a paralysis state. They put
It's
you in a paralysis state, so you
right.
can't move
Exactly.
because they're not needing you to move while they're cutting you and stuff. And you're able to see through the operating room walls into the ER, where your family in their waiting room, where
Right.
they're waiting for you,
That's
and you could
incredible.
hear the conversations that they're having. And I was able to repeat the conversations that they were having about me having the surgery, and also
What did they have to say
what
about
the
that?
surgeon was saying. Well, I think that they were really shocked. They were like, how is it possible that you're able to pick that up? So it changed me. It made me more cautious, I would say, about um, sharing stuff with people, and more cautious about basically. And when I say cautious about sharing things with other people, is that fear of having other people not understand you,
Yes.
because something, most people are going to go, how is he able to see through walls? How is he able to hear conversations?
Hmm.
So I'm more careful about not wanting to share that with people, because people would immediately think, well, he's making up stuff, or he's,
Right.
you know, how
So
can that be?
that's a whole nother element of kind of the near death experience that I think people probably overlook, right? Is that element of, okay, I just had this experience where I was out on some other plane and now I'm back here, and are people even going to believe what I saw? And then also just having to come back into a fallen world and deal with broken, hurting people that it's very different than, I guess, the experience that you had when you
Hmm.
had left your body. What was that like when you left your body? What was kind of like the feeling, I guess, that was stirred up, or did you sense emotion, or
I think what I had was basically I transcended. I went ascension
uh
above my body,
right?
and then I was in a where I was being greeted by family and stuff that
Oh
had
wow.
passed.
Okay.
And then it started with the light appearing above me,
Mm,
okay, too, and seeing that light getting brighter. And then me doing a life review, which is basically seeing flashes of your life real fast,
right.
and those relationships. Along with, I also saw um, multiple people going up into that light while I'm doing my life review
Oh
at the same
wow.
time, so simultaneously, and then also being able to just hear the conversations, hear thoughts, seeing this film of your life transferring in front of you, like a download, and also understanding what hurt other people in their life, how they hurt you and how you hurt them.
That's
So
part of that review
so
process, I guess.
yeah, so it's kind of interesting because on the biblical side,
Uh
people
huh.
say you don't leave Earth without seeing what you did,
Right.
how you hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so
So you
yeah,
you kind of
so
experienced
you
that, I
get to
guess.
see how other
Yeah.
people hurt you.
Right.
What caused them to be this way. That they didn't set out to try to hurt you.
Right.
So that came to a better understanding for me of why some people do why they did what they did. You
Right.
know,
Did you
for better or for
did you
worse.
just get all of that information just rapidly, or how?
Rapidly. So I'm seeing it like in slow motion,
Yeah.
but this thing is like basically speeding. You're seeing information at top speed, just flashing.
That's
So it's
incredible.
like it's down. You're getting a download super fast, but you're seeing your whole life, their whole life, and your life, and
Right.
both theirs and yours.
That's incredible. I've read, so I had a near death experience too. Whenever the doctor went to fix some internal bleeding and he hit an artery and I started bleeding, I didn't have a total out of body like you did. I did see what was going on in the room, but that may have been just because I woke up in the procedure. But I don't know. But I did see what was going on in there, but I've read a lot about that. Really inspired me to know more about the experience, and I've read a lot of Dr. Raymond Moody Jr. and he talks about a lot of the things that you do, and I think his take is that everyone has a different every experience is unique, but
Hmm.
some of the common themes are like the life review and the light, and
Hmm.
seeing people transcend, and a lot of the same common elements, but everyone from their own perspective, right? But the one thing that he says is true amongst all of them is they come back with an idea of like it's all about kind of loving others and caring for others. They have more, I guess, they're more in tune to just kind of empathy and sympathy and compassion and just more about the essence of love. Would you say that that is kind of your experience when you came back from that?
I think it's a common theme. I think with people who have near death, but I think it's really you come in, to the world from parents who have you. So there's love there, and then when you depart, you're leaving too. So I think
Mm-hmm.
with love too, and you don't leave with the possessions. You don't leave with all the money that you make,
Amen, brother.
and so it puts things in perspective of not worrying so much about the next day of where you're falling short, or
Right.
being hard on yourself.
Exactly.
So
Right. Give yourself more grace. Right.
yeah. Um, when I think about my near death experience, and I think so many people, as you pointed out, have common themes. What I would like to see more happen in study and in teaching and offerings is helping people with coping with coming through near death, because we hear
Yes.
the enlightenment part. We
Mm-hmm.
people talking, this is a beautiful experience. Some people are like, I want to repeat this. I want to, induce this. I want to, uh,
Right.
go back and do these things. And um, the surgery and the near death experience is, separate.
Mm-hmm.
The healing part is the most difficult part, and that is um, when you have your near death, you basically have died, and you're coming back. Even though you're coming back to the same body, you're coming back as a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Your life has
Your old
changed.
self has died.
Yeah, your old self has died,
Right.
and now you're faced with things that may not work or operate the way they should. Your body's not functioning the way so you may have some limitations. You may have different things, and
Right.
so it's that healing part that I
Mm-hmm.
would like to see. More people talk about
Right.
the trials and tribulations, the things that they went through,
And it
and not just the beautiful sky
exactly.
and that experience, the euphoric experience,
Right.
but the
There is.
actual, you're coming back to deal with things where people aren't going to understand what you've been through.
That's a
Period.
great point. It's a grief element, right? You have
Yeah.
to kind of grieve the
I think
death of your old self,
you go
right?
through those. Was it five different cycles, or is it some?
Okay.
Yeah, of you know coming to some acceptance, learning to accept the fact that
Mm-hmm.
you have changed, grieving the old you,
Right.
accepting the new you,
Mm-hmm.
and learning to be able to be okay and say,
It's quite a
you know,
process.
yeah, sometimes I'm okay with not being okay.
That is well said, right? I feel like after an experience like that, you start to understand the ideas of like grace and mercy a lot more, and kind of not so hard on yourself after something like that, and kind of, as you put it, realize it's okay to be not okay sometimes, and that's why there's people like you that are helping people who deal with these kind of things kind of just cut through the darkness of it all and really get focused on your life's purpose, like you're doing with your business, with your life's direction. So let's talk a little bit more about that. You've kind of talked about how you're just an everyday guy that grew up doing the same things I did in San Antonio area.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing my cousin Travis, who's with us here today. Same thing we all did. You're just a normal everyday guy, but you had this crazy experience that really changed your life, and you had to go through this grief process, and it's adapting and accepting new self and then coping. What did you come back with, this spiritual gift I kind of prefaced earlier?
Well, you notice it's a slow process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, of being able to see things, and then meaning see prophecy, see things that are unfolding, events, clairvoyance.
Yes.
Okay, and a knowing
Yes.
that this is going to happen.
Yes.
Being able to see, as I was able to see, the same pain in the life review that these other people who had passed were showing me and downloading.
Right.
Me being able to see that with people that are living.
Mm.
Okay, so,
Mm.
and that they're carrying it with them. And so I'm able to see that, and I'm able to see it on their face, and I'm able to see it with white light that sits on their face, sort of like with you, in essence,
Right.
with you having a health marker on you.
Right. You could see it.
Where I could see it.
I've got a nice
Yeah.
bald head now for
Yeah.
you to
Yeah.
see, but
Your wife's showing up.
oh, really? That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Okay. So yeah.
See,
Okay.
he knows things that we don't know. It's incredible.
So basically, just being able to see things and look at photographs, and also know that um, we carry energy when we're living, and that energy sits with you. And so I'm just basically looking at someone and seeing that energy and being able to interpret it just through my experience of
Right.
having the near death and
So that's got to be
going through that.
what a beautiful gift that you've been given through all of that turmoil that you went through. And it's an incredible gift, but I'm sure that it comes with a lot.
It comes with a lot of weight.
Talk about
because
that.
because you're not only feeling your pain, your weight.
Right.
Okay, you're feeling everybody who comes in my office.
Mm-hmm.
I feel their pain, and I feel what they're going through and their struggle. And so it's like, it's not for everybody. Okay?
I agree.
And you have to be able to put it down. But I don't know, for me, they said I had a high
Pain tolerance, clearly. Yeah.
for stuff, but doesn't mean I don't want to take, breaks from it. And
Right.
I have to. And I have to be selfish a little bit and think about myself and think about my life, and take a little mini vacation from it, because it becomes much, and I have to say and decide for myself, I've had enough, and I take a break, from it.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean other people are going to understand it. They're going to go, "Where's James?" And blow up your phone. Why isn't he returning my calls? Is he upset with me? No, I need to take a break from it.
Hey, that's something we should all strive to do, I think, regardless of what our spiritual gift is or what, service we're providing to the world. Like, we got to take the time out and charge spiritually, and, do what you have to do. I think I just can't imagine what that process looks like for you.
For a lot of people, they don't understand a person coming out of a near-death experience, of how to help them, how to deal or help them cope with things. And
Right.
the best example I could give you, I'm not going to say this is like to a T, identical to it, but it's the closest thing I can share something so someone might be able to understand with it. Is they're having PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and they're in survival mode. Okay, they're coming out of something that basically has basically ended their life, and they've come back to it, and they're shocked because they don't recognize themselves or you know who they are.
Right.
And then they're trying to self-discover all again with maybe some limitations. Not everyone's going to have limitations, but you know, a lot of people may have limitations. They may have
after the near-death
they may have been in a terrible
right.
car accident. They may have been in a fire,
of course,
you know, and just situations. But they're coming back different, and they're coming back in survival mode, and they have to live being in this survival mode.
Oh my gosh!
Okay,
yes.
yeah. So it's a lifetime of being in survival mode with all these triggers of, and having someone have to deal with the, you know, things that are going to set them off. They have post-traumatic stress disorder,
right?
And then you telling them, oh, everything's going to be fine. Everything? No, it's not. To them, you know, while they're going through it,
right?
It's not, and so
it's not going to always be rainbows and butterflies.
But
right?
that's the best way I can explain to somebody who maybe was or is in healthcare that you're dealing with someone who has post-traumatic stress disorder, and they are stuck in survival mode. So they're having difficulty coming down from it.
Absolutely.
And if they cannot, for people who are in that mode, if they can't adapt to this new changed identity or person that they now are, they're going to check out. They're going to want to just end their life and be gone.
Right.
And that's a tragedy. And I'm not saying people should do that in any way, but I'm telling you that this is a reality that people do check out because they go, this isn't me. I feel like I feel helpless. I'm not the same person. And then they have difficulty adapting with jobs.
Oh my goodness, yes.
You know, put all these different people in front of them.
Right.
Okay, that are constantly changing, okay, in front of them, and they expect you to operate like this never happened.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, it's not the same.
No.
You're not the same.
The world, you become a much more empathetic person having gone through a life review like that, and seeing how your actions impact others, and then coming back and then having to work with folks that are still, you know, just our everyday human experience. You know, that's a lot, you know.
And then you have judgment. You have other people judging you, going, this person doesn't want to work, this person's lazy, this person, you know, is easily triggered. Why can't this person adapt?
Right.
You know, they're just leaving, they don't feel comfortable. You know, they're struggling in their own skin of their own identity, and compounded with, you know, people are putting them in a pressure situation around people that are also triggered.
Exactly.
You know, and then telling them, okay, it's going to be okay. No, you don't put two stressed out people together.
Right.
No less, you know, a crowd of people together.
Right.
That are like that, because there's going to be a problem, or you know, there's going to be
builds.
a withdrawal. Most people will withdraw from it.
Yeah. And that is a reality that a lot of people don't talk about. I think
that's
with
depression.
The post near-death experience is like, you have this wonderful experience and all of that, but coming back, a lot of people don't know how to cope and how to work through that. And that's one thing I think has many great things that you're doing with your business, but that is one is just being there for people who have been through this experience and being able to empathize with them and kind of, because their recovery is going to be different than yours, you know, just like mine was different than yours.
Absolutely.
But you have to have someone who understands, to your point.
If you don't understand what's in front of you,
right,
you know, and you can throw, you know, you can give the rosiest advice to them,
right,
okay, but if you don't understand
the real stuff that comes with it,
with them, and you know, they want to be normal. They want someone to explain to them why this happened. Why the common denominator with a lot of this is, why me? Why did this happen to me?
Right.
This happens to other people. This doesn't happen to me.
Kind of
why
a self-pity type
Correct.
thought, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And that's a slippery slope.
That is.
Yeah. That's a real slippery slope.
Especially when you're dealing with some of the brightest people. They're not used to, are entitled people.
Right.
They're not used to having adversity or having to overcome
Right.
things. They're used to having things easy. They're not used to having to struggle with stuff.
So that's the perseverance piece, right?
Correct,
It
correct.
takes
And
perseverance.
it does. You're gonna get the crap beat out of you,
Yeah, no
and
doubt,
you're
right?
gonna need to be able to have emotional intelligence, be strong with emotional intelligence to be able to put things in proper perspective,
Right.
to deal with stuff. And if you don't have it and you're struggling with it and you're around other people that are trying to just tell you, get over it, don't talk about it, why do you keep talking about it? I'll tell you, they keep talking about it because it keeps replaying over and over in their head. And they want to be told it's going to be okay.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to
Right.
go back to being normal,
Hmm.
but
Embrace the new normal, and
they
the
can't, and
right.
that's the problem. They may not return
Exactly.
to being normal, and they have to be okay with being not okay.
A new normal,
A
right?
new
It's
normal.
kind of finding a new normal. And I think, that's what's so inspiring about your story. I'm Christian, and I believe that there is a God that is the essence of all good, that is love, mercy, compassion, and love really. And then I believe that there's, an opposite side of that, and someone that, that the dark energies, the negative things that kind of swirl in.
Yeah.
And I just feel like your story really illustrates how, we can take something that the enemy has done, that evil has done, and turn it into something great. Because look at you're just a normal everyday guy, right? And you've been given this gift and you've had to work through tremendous amounts of adversity. But something that you've stayed focused on is helping others, using your spiritual gift. All of us have spiritual gifts. They're
Mm-hmm.
all different. Yours is different than mine, and Travis's is different than
Mm-hmm.
mine, but we all have them. And I believe that we're supposed to use them for others so we can mature as a body, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we need each other is a real thing. We need each
Mm-hmm.
other to get through this thing, right? So I just really admire that part of your story, because I just think it's inspiring for all of us to do that.
It helps to know that you're not alone, that there's other people too. And that's why I brought up survival mode, because it's something common. You have a lot of military people too that go into war zones and stuff like that. They're stuck in survival mode.
Right.
And so that's the closest thing I can share with somebody, is to help them understand, because not everyone's going to have a near death experience.
Right.
But they can see soldiers and stuff that they were put in set in survival mode, or maybe something, their life has put them in survival mode where they lost their father, they lost
Right.
their mother, they don't have people to count on, and so they have to they're stuck in being in, I need to survive,
Exactly.
okay, and do these things because no one's going to be there to help me out.
And that's a very isolated place to be.
it,
Um,
it's it's very, I would say, traumatic, in relationships with people who are stuck in survival mode, and
right.
it's traumatic for their partners because
Yes.
they see their partners like, I'm just trying to, their whole life has been about trying to provide for themselves, and they don't realize that sometimes it looks selfish to other people because they need to hoard things, or they need X amount of money, or they're focused, on themselves,
Right.
and they need that element of them to focus on the other person and not just
Yes.
themselves,
Right.
because it will destroy relationships,
Right.
partnerships,
So
because
relations
they're like, our partnership's about both of us. It's not just about
exactly.
you.
And when you come back from those kind of experiences, you have to take time for you, right? And
Yes.
so I agree that, I've been through a lot of it myself with the cancer battle, and all of the surgeries, and then the near death experience. And you're exactly right. Your mind goes into fight or flight, and you're in that survival mentality. And I'm grateful for folks like you that have become a good friend over the years to
Hmm.
talk to about stuff like
Well,
that.
sooner or later, being in that survival mode, you have to come off of it, because if you don't come off of it, you're going to crash.
That's
Okay.
well said. And I
And
needed
so,
to hear
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
needed to hear
So,
that today
you
for
know,
sure.
I'm just saying,
No, it's weird how you know those things.
experience with it. And, people like to say, oh, you're so knowledgeable, you have all this information. A lot of it is from my own experience of what I've gone through. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so I can relate to you. I can relate when you say I having to have more surgeries. I cringe because I'm like going, this is time away from your family. This is putting trauma on your family because they don't know the outcome of what's going to happen in these surgeries. It's so easy being in a hospital that you can get MRSA infections and
Yes.
stuff.
Oh,
And
yes.
so it's sometimes not the surgery, it's just
The
catching an
recovery.
infection
Right.
and the thing that leads to something else. And
Right.
so we're just like going, when is it going to end?
Right.
And when is enough enough? And your family always being on pins and needles going,
Yes.
when is daddy going to be okay? And when is he not going to
Exactly.
have these
Right.
surgeries so you can, because I know you want to spend time with your family
Oh
and
my gosh,
your
yes.
kids, and you do,
And I don't
but
exactly.
you don't want to be in the back of your mind going, I need to leave them to go deal with this and
Right.
go get care.
Exactly. And my wife has been an absolutely champion through the whole thing.
Amazing
Just she has had to
person.
carry a load, a big load, and I don't want that. But that's where I've kind of found a lot of hope in something called freedom prayer. That's helped
Mm.
me a lot. Kind of work through a lot of what you're talking about, the aftermath of the fight or flight. And I'm not saying I'm completely out of that mode yet, but I've definitely learned a lot over these last 4 years. Whenever you have, initially when it all started, and you have someone say, "Oh, well, the prognosis on that one is 2 years or less," then you start to really kind of think, and then of course your spouse and your family, and it's just like a lot, right?
Correct.
It's life changing in itself, but whenever you're able to kind of place your faith and we all have to believe something, right?
Yeah.
And whenever for me at least, that's what has helped me is really uh, utilizing spiritual exercise. Freedom prayer ministry has really helped with that, but your support is huge. My wife, the kids, my whole family have been great, but in the end, when you go through that kind of thing, you really need to talk to someone like yourself that can empathize and really understand. And it doesn't have to be something like I'm going through, right? Everyone has stuff that they're going through.
Correct.
So talk to us about how your life's direction is helping people with that. Just not just with near death experience. I think we're two very unique cases there, but
Hmm.
just with everyday stuff in general, we all get drained by the darkness of this fallen world, and we need someone to help us cut through that stuff and get focused on purpose.
Correct.
So how are you helping other folks do that in their life when they come and see you? Kind of, you talked about the lighting and the different things, gifts that you've been given, and
Hmm.
share with us a little bit about how that looks, how you're helping people kind of work through that, and then how we can get in touch with you. Our viewers want to know how to receive your services.
Well, I think what I offer is, I do get a lot of people that are military that come and see, and they're going through different things too, and they have their own stresses and stuff like that.
Right.
But I have everyday people, work stress, work stresses from being at work and not getting along with other people or more people, being bullies or their bosses, and they're, not treating them fairly, and
Right.
they're stressed out because they need the jobs because they have children, they have bills to pay, they have a house they have to pay. It's not like they can just walk away and go, I've had enough.
Right.
Just like they can't go, oh, I'm stressed out. I don't want to
Sure.
be in the military anymore while you're signed up for 4 years and you're year one,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
got 3 more years to go,
There's
and
all
do it.
kinds of stuff.
And they get put through so many stresses and stuff. And so it's a big responsibility. What I do for many of these people, they basically, they're able to come in, they schedule an appointment with me because I go by appointment. I just can't have like number of people showing up all at once, so that's why I
Of
go by
course.
appointment.
Right.
People are like, "Why do you do appointments?" I do appointments versus walk-ins because I don't want to have a large number of people outside.
Of
Okay,
course. Right.
yeah, or in my house roaming around stuff
Yeah.
while I'm doing readings with someone else.
Right. Of
You're
course.
just have an open door thing.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's why I go by appointment. But what I do is primarily, I tell them to think about, because it's their money and it's their time, because I do charge,
Hmm.
about what topics they would like to have me look at.
Right.
Okay, and they can come in and then they bring in either photos or they just bring themselves in. If I see them, I don't need the photo, but they come in, I can read the energy, and I can generally tell when something's off because I can feel it.
Right.
And also being able to tell the lighting too on their head and their
Hmm.
face and stuff. So I'm able to pick up. And generally, um, people say that it's therapeutic for
Yes.
them.
I
It's
agree with
therapeutic
that.
because, one, I'm touching on things that they're not telling me anything
Hmm.
about. They're like, "How does he know this?"
Exactly. I've
Okay,
had
and
some of
then
those.
they don't feel alone anymore,
Right.
and they're like, "Okay, so he's working for me now. He's on my side, and
Right.
he's seeing what I'm going through, and then I'm also giving them some solutions of maybe some things that they can do to bring them off that stress, or how to better have that conversation with their bosses or with other employees to be able to work with it, or how to avoid it."
Right.
And chances
That's a big
are,
part of it right
you
there
know,
is how to cut it out.
if
Right.
it's the same person, that's having this problem with everybody,
Yes.
it's not just a personal problem with one person. They're angry at other people and they're going through something.
Right.
Okay. And
Right.
so it's not solely directed. So it's not intended to be personal for them.
Exactly.
So don't take it personally.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But it's hard for them because their job depends on it. And they have
Right.
to work with people that are angry.
That's a
And they
difficult
may be
place to be.
angry, okay, because I'm also a medium. I'm also able to see things on them that maybe someone had passed or someone is going to pass, or, maybe they're not healthy. Something's going on with them
Yes.
that's
I can
causing them
testify.
to be angry and upset, and they're just in front of that person. They're
Exactly.
sharing space. So,
So that's got to just make. I mean, it's made a world of difference for me. I know it can make a world of difference for others, and I think it's just worth saying. So you're kind of like a coach in many ways. You're not a doctor. You're not a
mhm,
counselor. You're just picking up on things through your spiritual gift, and
mhm.
then you're giving a suggestion on how they can help to remove those barriers from their life, or just hey, here's another path.
And some of them don't even know that they're carrying that weight. They're carrying the weight with them. They don't know what's wrong with them,
Right.
but they're upset and they're carrying this with them. And they could just have like the most perfect job. They're making great money. They live in a beautiful house.
Right.
They don't understand why they're angry or upset. Okay. And their partner's going through stuff, and their
Hmm.
proximity to that energy field, they're going
Yes.
into that energy field because they go home every night with their partner.
So whenever
Okay.
someone is around
So
a
it's
particular kind of energy, they start to absorb it, and
yeah,
you can.
it's energy transference, so
Right.
they can pick up on their partner who's having a difficult thing because they're like, I don't know why I feel so depressed. I have a new car, I have this, I have a brand
Right.
new house. I'm happy and making. I just got a promotion, but I'm sad and depressed because they're picking up some weight. And example, someone was picking up their weight of their partner, okay, because their partner is still struggling with the idea that they lost their mother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's
they
tough.
died and they passed,
Right.
and they're having a difficult time being happy. And so that energy, that wall goes up, and they're not sharing, they're isolating. And so they're going into that field where that energy, there's a block there, and they
Right.
don't feel that romance. They don't feel like their partner's talking to them, wants to talk to them.
Right.
They're avoiding them.
Yes.
Okay, and so they are going, I don't know what it is, but something feels off because of that.
That,
Because they walked into that field of energy, just like you walk into a funeral.
right.
Okay, the energy is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to feel a different mood in that place.
Right. That makes a lot
Okay,
of
and
sense.
so I get a lot of people that are dating, and they're, wanting to date people, and they're just like, they're dating a person who basically has an energy that they are at a funeral. Okay, and I'm like, do you really want to start? Does a person want to start a relationship with someone right out of the gate that
Yeah.
you're at a funeral?
Right.
So why don't, this isn't a good time for that? Why don't you give them some time
Right.
and revisit it another time, and then if you want to enter into that relationship, fine. Okay,
Right.
versus jumping into something and then going, I don't understand,
Mm-hmm.
because this person is shut down.
Exactly.
And so
So you're able to really just help folks kind of become aware of that
understanding
and
energy feels, yeah,
and
and
become aware, I guess, of the draining elements in their life or the energies that they're crossing paths with, and then you're able to provide solution on or suggestion, I
yeah,
should say.
suggestions of what they can do, either to remove themselves or remove that energy, depending on what it is.
Right.
If it's a darker energy and it's not a person and it's something that has passed, then obviously they'll want that out of their field.
No doubt. And so how can our listeners, our viewers, find you to try and schedule an appointment?
So I do have a website. It's www.yourlifesdirection.com.
Very good.
Okay. And if they go to that website, the phone number's on there. They can message me. They can pay on that site. Um, and that is probably the easiest way for them to find me.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, James, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for everything that you've done for me and my family. It's an honor to have you on the show, and yeah, I look forward to many more years together. And again, just thank you for being on today.
Well, I appreciate again the invite, and when I knew, when I heard that you reached out and said, do you want to do this? Do you want to come on our show? I was really excited about wanting to come on because I understood, not only you as a client but also as someone who had gone through a lot, and with your family, um, with everything that they've been through with this, because I know that this isn't the easiest thing
Right.
too. But look at you. You wrote a book.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
right.
you started an organization,
That's right.
and now you're on the air,
That's what we're trying to do.
inspiring people.
We're trying to unite and heal American culture. We're feeling real called to do that. All of the experiences we've gone through have really called us to try and give back. So a lot of it's been inspired by folks like you, folks, everyday people that are really working hard to serve others and to just honor others as brothers and sisters of God. I think that element of American culture has been lost for decades, and we felt really called to try and step in and bring that kind of morality, I guess you could say, or just the simplicity of be golden, you know. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like your story really captures that and embodies it very well. So thank you again for being on today, and we'll have more United Creed for you real soon. Several episodes to come, but until then, let's be golden, right?
Awesome. Yes.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the United Creed podcast. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that provides funding for cancer patients to receive cutting-edge treatments that aren't currently covered by health insurance, while also fostering inner wellness through Freedom Prayer Ministry. I would like to invite you to go to theunitedcreed.com and donate $20 a month to our cause. That's just 65 cents a day, which isn't much, but your donation is literally an answer to thousands of prayers. Take my story, for example. My community rallied around me and raised money so that I could receive immunosine dendritic cell treatments, which isn't currently covered by health insurance. I'm happy to report that I'm in good health and enjoying excellent quality of life. And this treatment wouldn't have been possible for me without the compassion of my community. So this is what inspired my wife and I to form the United Creed. Our goal is to inspire 50,000 people to subscribe to giving $20 a month to our cause. That would raise enough money to cover 100% of immunosine dendritic cell treatments and travel for over 100 cancer patients every single year. So please go to theunitedcreed.com and click the donate button today. Together, we can bring unity and perseverance for the cancer community. I know it because I've witnessed it. So thank you, and God bless.